Hello, hello, and welcome to Innovate. We are so glad you guys could all make it. We had some technical difficulties, so we sent out a new link. So let all your friends know if they are in the wrong place to come to this place. And I am your host. My name is Robb, and I am the co-founder and CEO of the Nsiight shopping app. And we help you shop your local businesses from home. And as you can see, we are not on stage tonight. We are filming on location here in Oceanside, California. We have an amazing guest speaker tonight. And Innovate events happen once a month, and we are going to start bringing more of these events to you live. So be sure to subscribe and like the video and tell all your friends, because that would help us out a lot, and it helps you keep updated on everything that we are doing over here. And I am joined by Amanda and Niel, Gerard, and they are doing amazing things in San Diego. And as Nsiight opens in new cities, we will feature local business in your neighborhood very, very soon. So we're gonna jump right in, and we are going to explore the world of Sew Oside, one of my favorite local businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, Amanda and Niel, Gerard.
Hi guys! How are you guys doing tonight? So, I am Amanda. I am the owner, founder of Sew Oside. This is Mr. Sew Oside.
Hello.
And together we have, for the last 3 years, been building up our sewing classes right here in San Diego, North County. We started
About 3 years ago.
well, technically we started almost 10 years ago. 10 years ago I started my clothing boutique, which is kind of how we ended up where we are today. 10 years ago I started with dresses and outfits for little girls' families, family pajama sets. This was a whole world away. And as I did local festivals in the area, so we would do Carlsbad Street Fair, Encinitas Street Fair, Strawberry Festival, one of my favorites. People would ask, they'd come up to the booth, oh my gosh, you make all of these things? Well, yeah, we do. And then the next question would always be, well, do you teach? No, I do not. I wasn't prepared at all to teach at that point in time. And it wasn't until we moved into a semi-industrial space where I planned to just have my workshop separate from home so that, we could enjoy semi-home life versus...
I could get my house back.
Did you end up getting the house back?
No, it's still full of fabric, so.
It's got lots of fabric.
Yeah.
So we started this whole workshop, and just to have that separation from home and business, and so it was easier to separate the two. And in that space, suddenly I had the room. And at that point, I was a lot more open to bringing people in. And suddenly I also had overhead, which was also new to me. And so I thought, okay, well, what can we do to kind of help bring everything together? And that's when I started with the very first workshop that we did. It was a 4-hour purse workshop. Mm-hmm. And I went into it thinking, okay, 4 hours, just to get the bills paid, right? And I absolutely fell in love with teaching that day. Our 4-hour workshop ended up being closer to 5.5 hours. And if you guys I still have some of those students from the original workshop that still take classes today. And we figured out this morning that was 3 years ago in 2 months was our very first sewing class workshop. Since then, we've grown and grown to the point where we've expanded from our little 700 get out of the house workspace to an entire 1,700 square foot building where we focus entirely on classes. So we do semi-private classes, we do private classes, we do workshops where everybody comes in, makes the same project so that they leave with something they've made that day. But really our focus is bringing the arts back to the community. Sewing is such a lost art, and it's not taught in schools anymore. Our parents don't know how to do it for the most part. But as many of my students and parents know, that kids don't listen to their parents very much. So passing that information down, that skill down, isn't as widely done as you would assume it would be. So, and then COVID happened.
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah, we were working on a charity project before that, right?
We did.
Right before that.
In January of last year, if you guys remember, Australia had all of these wildfires.
Yeah.
And last year, my goal for the year was to build a better community, right? So we invited the community in on a specific day. I donated all of the fabrics, all of the machines, all the supplies, everything here in the shop. You just had to come. And we spent the entire day sewing Joey pouches to send to Australia. And we ended up making, do you remember how many?
I lost count now.
We made 100. We made 100 Joey
okay.
pouches to send to Australia that day. I had students coming in throughout the day. Some would come in for an hour work on stuff. Some would come in for, we had 2 or 3 people that were here the entire day. We had all ranges, 8 years old, 7 years old, all the way up to,
My dad helped, right?
Yeah, he did.
He's 70? Yeah.
Is he 70?
Mm-hmm.
He's 70. So I think my oldest student is actually 76 right now. So we have kids that range from 5 years old all the way to big kids that are up to 76. So if you're past that 76 range, come on down so I can increase that number. After the Joey pouches, my plan was we were working with the San Diego
The Humane Society?
No. It's the Wildlife Foundation. The raptor cages.
Oh, yeah.
We're working with Project Wildlife, and we've been working on getting these raptor cage covers embroidered and made to send over to the San Diego Humane Society's Project Wildlife, so that these birds of prey that come in injured can get rehabbed and sent back out into the wild. That was our next big project, and COVID happened, and so that pushed off that project until we were just able to start on that again, 2 months ago? I think about 2 months ago. And instead we flipped to making face masks. We made face masks for a couple of our students were connected with retirement homes, nursing homes, and suddenly they weren't able to get supplies, and we at that point weren't shut down yet, and so we took the extra time. A couple of my students came in and we sat down and we made 100 face masks that day, 100 face masks another day, and we sent them to all of these people we know. And then we ended up getting involved with the San Diego Face Mask Group, which has been sewing and donating face masks throughout all of Southern California, mainly San Diego County, hospitals, nursing homes, other facilities in need. In total, at the beginning, my goal was 1,000, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
My goal was 1,000 face masks. And at that point, you had come in to help too, right?
Yeah, I had to brush up on my skills and start making face masks instead of dresses.
Not gonna lie, you guys. Neil totally helped make 86 little girls' dresses while we prepped for Comic-Con last summer. Not last summer, the summer before.
Yeah.
It was the summer before. He hadn't sewn much other than patching holes, right?
Yeah, I remember when I went to high school in Maryland, we did have a home ec class, and I did
You
learn
did
how
home
to.
ec?
I did a pillowcase. Yeah, I learned how to make a pillowcase, and
What do you need me for?
that was, 25 years ago. So
You're old. That
Yeah.
wasn't 25 years ago.
I don't know.
You're gonna be 35.
Yeah. No, it was like 20 years ago. Yeah. But yeah, that was the extent of my sewing skills until just about 3 years ago.
So remember how I
Moved
said
here?
that I started Kylie's Closet about 10 years ago? Neil had this great idea of, oh my God, my wife sews. I can put all of these projects for her to fix these shirts and these pants and hem this and fix that and take this in. And I kid you not, there was a spot in my closet that had all of his stuff in it, and that is where it sat.
For years.
Until he came in one day, he's like, can you just show me how to do the machine and I'll do it. Yeah, okay. Wait, not my machine. You get your own machine. That was a long time ago. So let's see. So we started sewing a couple hundred here and there. my big goal was to get to 1,000 face masks donated. And then things got worse and worse and worse. And suddenly, state of California dropped the mask mandate. And everybody had to have a mask. So our San Diego face mask group was super, super involved with, and we were donating, I think at that point we were at 1,200. So I'd hit my initial goal, but we just kept going because the need was there. The owner, or rather the person who founded the San Diego face mask group, Michelle Harvey, she's absolutely fantastic, you guys. She pulled me aside and asked me, hey, you know, we really want to keep this group focused on donations. Is there any way that, you know, we can have everybody send the people who are asking to purchase to you so that we can still stay focused on donations? So I was like, yeah, sure. You know, she knew that I was donating fabric to the group and supplies to the group and still sewing a lot and sending off our face masks too. And she really wanted our group to be able to focus on getting donated masks into the hands of those facilities that needed them. So I took on that role, and then the face mask mandate hit, and everybody had to have one. You guys, I kid you not, Neil and I sat here. My parents came out to help.
Our children.
Our children came. They didn't have a choice. They'd cut threads. They'd cut little pieces out. They'd thread the elastics through the casings. We made 3,000 face masks in 10 days. We were here for 18 hours a day when that drop first hit, and we made over 3,000 face masks in 10 days. It was absolutely insane. We didn't hardly see our kids for 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was insane. It was just wake up, go to work, keep working.
Now, mind you,
Pass
he
out a
actually
little
has
bit.
his own job too.
Drink more coffee.
We survived
Yeah.
on coffee, and who's our next door neighbor is Irina's Bar and Grill.
Yeah.
I'd literally call them and say, hey, we need more food. And they'd bring it over to the door for us, so we actually got to eat throughout the day. My parents were helping us. It would take both of them we had this awesome system. So I would sit on my machine because that's where I'm the best, the fastest at. And my parents would sit one across from me and one next to me, and we would hand stuff back. I'd sew something and hand it to one person, and while they're doing that, I'd hand it to my mom, and she'd do something else, and by the time I've got her doing stuff, he's finished and handing it back. And so it was this constant back and forth of passing everything back and getting it done as quickly as we could.
An assembly line.
An assembly line. So it takes Neil about
To make one mask?
so one mask start to finish. How long does it take you? My pattern, by the way.
10 to 15 minutes. Maybe
Really?
15 minutes.
I think you're closer to 10 minutes.
Yeah, maybe 10 minutes.
I think you're closer to 10 minutes. It takes me 4. I can make a face mask in 4 minutes. But it's my own pattern, and I kind of know it like the back of my hand, so.
And she's a ninja, so.
I'm a sewing
I'm not.
ninja. Just a little bit. We have a lot of fun, though. Hey, Zach, do we have any questions coming in yet?
There are a few just giving love to Sew Oside.
Oh.
But that's all we have at the moment.
All right. So, Neil, what is your background in? Do you want? Well, it's not sewing.
It's not sewing, yeah. No, I have a bachelor's degree in computer science, former Navy, and so the last 10 years I've been focused on email security and email encryption. So not sewing, but when COVID hit, I guess what was that, late March through early April, I basically kind of put everything that I was doing on standby, because I own my own business doing email security, and kind of put everything on standby to help out with the need of making face masks, because the way I saw it was, we had such a need for face masks, and no one could get them, and it was vital for protecting especially the vulnerable populations, the elderly. And,
we have a lot of Go Navy fans here. A question did come in. How many masks have you guys made to date?
Oh, that's a really good question. I know we're well over the 5,000 mark. So initially my goal was to donate 1,000 masks, and when we hit that, we kept going because the need was there. Then the mask mandate dropped, and we got nothing but mask orders and making them as quickly as we could. When I say we did nothing but sewing for 2 weeks, we legit did nothing but sewing. My best friend was here handling the phones for me. Shout out to Stephanie. And she also was the one who forced me to stop what I was doing to actually eat. And I kid you not, it is the funniest thing. Amanda, have you eaten today? I had coffee. Did that count? No, Amanda, you need to eat today. So huge shout out to Stephanie, because I probably was super emaciated and it's not
I don't know how you forget to eat. I mean, I'd never forget to eat because I'm constantly eating, but
I was busy. We were making a lot of masks. That's a really good question. I think so. After the initial, oh my God, we all have to have masks. It went from everybody has to have a mask to, well, if I've got to wear a mask, it better be cute. And so we switched from getting as many masks out as we could to allowing people to choose which fabrics they had. Because initially we weren't. We were just making. We went through, oh my gosh. I want to say we went through over 1,000 yards of fabric just in what we made. And it's been absolutely crazy. I want to say we're probably floating somewhere between the 6,000 to 8,000 masks made in total for the year. In July, we were allowed to reopen for classes, so my focus shifted from constantly making masks to being able to cater to my students safely. So we actually had to completely rearrange the shop in order to accommodate being open for classes as well. So we initially, our classes were initially set up here in the front of the shop, and with all of the requirements for us to be able to open, having to have a separation of the retail space versus the classes space, which it was side by side originally, we had to make the decision, well, do we close retail while we have classes going? Do we only have classes going after retail hours? And so instead we took half of the storage space out of the shop so that we could expand the open floor space so that we could separate. We now have all of our retail here in the front of the shop. There's a good separation line where we now have our students in the back. They're all spread out, they're all safe. And that's kind of how our focus shifted after July, just to be able to give everybody something to do and still be safe. That's been the biggest challenge for us, is watching my class sizes go from 16 to 8. And after having only been, we were officially Sew Oside starting in January of 2018. So we had the first year to prep and build it up, and I had my max capacity at 16 for classes that February. And then we had to shut down. And that was a huge shift for us. Our last class last year was March 22nd, I believe it was. We had to shut down finally after March 22nd. And then again, we weren't able to reopen until July. So watching everything that I had built for the entire year before that almost crumble in front of me, and trying to figure out how we were going to pivot and shift is actually why I started the face masks in the first place. I needed to keep my mind busy. So I came up with the Sew Oside face mask pattern, and the pattern packs and the different video tutorials that we have on our brand new YouTube channel as of last year, just to keep myself busy. And then all of a sudden there was this much more needed, oh my gosh, we need more than what we can make ourselves. All of these other facilities can't get the medical supplies that they need, and suddenly they needed all of the extras. And so luckily when we shut down, I was able to pivot without knowing that I needed to pivot, and it was just the door that opened to kind of explode where we needed to go. And once that need was initially filled, now you can find face masks, you can find the surgical masks, and it's not as hard pressed for everybody to find it. So when we were able to open in July, we were able to shift our focus back to our students and kind of take care of that. But it was a definite hard pill to swallow, thinking that, oh my gosh, at this point I can lose what I've been building for the last 10 years. But I think overall we were able to make it work.
Yeah, thankfully, because you put a lot of effort in, especially during the early years of starting a business, and you're not making any money. You know, you're every cent that you make, you're reinvesting in the business and trying to grow it. And
I was
you
so
know, to
excited.
have it all just go away is
I was so excited last year, thinking this is the year I
Finally.
get to bring home a paycheck.
right.
And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
It's been super fun. It's been super fun. But we're super thankful. We've been lucky enough that because of the previous year, building the classes and building, not just focusing on profit or even expanding at that point, but focusing on our community. I have my students. My students were here and ready and able to come back when we were able to safely. So we didn't have to worry so much about, oh my God, is somebody going to come to class when we actually do get to reopen? Because I was able to do it safely, and whether or not you believe in everything going on out there right now, we have to do what is right that we can for our community. And so it was super, super important to me to be able to separate the students and cut our classes in half and still be able to serve our community, making everybody feel safe and welcomed and everything. So I think we've been pretty lucky, and I know a lot of other businesses out there haven't. Yeah. That's
It's hard, yeah. For small businesses, it's hard. And thankfully, you know, Sew Oside, we haven't had to, get any assistance from grants or anything like that, or the
No grants,
paycheck
no
protection.
PPP, no, we don't have any of that. Actually, I didn't qualify for any of that because the previous year, being technically the first year in business, anybody knows anything about small business, you don't see a profit for at least 3 years. And I didn't even see a paycheck
Right.
that first year. But it was super hard getting to go through that, but still be able to hold our own as far as, you know, what I talked about with pivoting and serving the community, having my students here ready and waiting for when we were able to open back up. And really, I think that's a big part of the reason why we're able to go the places that we're looking at going now. So not only were we able to make it through the darkest parts of COVID so far, we're still looking at expanding. I am in talks of our second location down in San Diego. We are like right there. Just waiting on the final word of where our actual location is going to be so that we have an opening date. But in the time where how many small businesses out there have either completely lost out, shut down, gone bankrupt, closed out, and we're lucky enough to be looking for additional places. We're hiring. I have my first employees. I have new instructors, and we're looking for a second and maybe third location just here in San Diego County. I have people asking me, hey, when are you coming to Temecula? Well, that one's not going to be for a while. I'm going to take over San Diego County first, and then we'll talk about Riverside and Orange County. But it's just amazing that in the time where so many businesses, so many people have lost so much, I am extremely thankful to be in the position that I am, that we get to expand and we get to keep going, even as hard as it is. And even with the classes being half of what they were, we still get to grow. We still get to expand. And the only way that would have been able to work is by building the community that we did, both here in Oceanside, all the way down to the students who come up to Oceanside from San Diego now. And now I get to give back to them by taking my location down there and getting to serve them in their community and build all of that up too. So, what do we got?
Just sending a lot of love.
Uh,
Love.
You should talk about all of the elastic controversy. Remember back when everything started
oh
getting
my
crazy?
gosh. Okay.
People were jacking
so,
up the prices.
I kid you not. So elastic. Do I have one back here? No,
Just
I
the-
don't.
you
Oh my
know,
gosh.
the
So elastic,
please.
you have no idea. And it's not just elastic. It's fabric
It was
too.
fabric too,
okay?
yeah.
So our face masks, obviously you have cotton material. You're supposed to use cotton material, not knit, not stretchy stuff. It has to do with how the material is made. I won't get into all of the specifics with that. But, you know, CDC recommended 2 layers of cotton fabric, woven cotton fabric for durability and all of that, right? So this is my face mask. I made this pattern up back in March, and I'm still using the same pattern. The biggest difference between my face mask and other people's are that mine go all the way around the head, okay? So you put your face mask on around your head. The coolest thing is I get to wear it under my hair. You pull it up over. You can grab it, hit it up this way. If my hair is up in a ponytail, it can go up over my ponytail. Like, there are so many different ways to wear your face mask, okay? Elastic disappeared like that. I kid you not, we saw people making face masks with hair ties for elastic, with headbands, with ties. I've seen shoelaces being used to tie for elastic. But what I would get these big rolls, because in my dresses I use elastic. In our projects we use elastic on a regular basis. We would get these big rolls. And the first time I bought elastic specifically for these face masks, when we were doing the donations, I could get my roll for, say, $10, okay? 144 yards of, a yard is 3 feet, okay? My masks take 28 inches. So you can get a few out of a yard. The ones that go around your ears, they take 8 inches each. So 16 inches versus 28 inches, okay? Just based on that, my masks take a lot more elastic than your typical face mask. So we're using a lot more elastic. When the mandate hit and it dropped that everybody needed a face mask, wholesalers were charging 10 times or more what you would normally buy elastic for. And it didn't stop there. All of a sudden, our fabric distributors were charging more because, let's be fair, one, nothing's coming in from China at this point. Our US-based distributors, they can't keep up with the demand. Joann's was out of fabric. Walmart was out of fabric. Hobby Lobby was out of fabric. All of our quilt stores, they're out of fabric. You couldn't get fabric. You couldn't get elastic. Thank God I have a hoard.
So did you run out of fabric?
I did
No,
not.
that's not possible.
I did not. We went through a lot of fabric. So with my boutique, wonderful Mr. Sew Oside actually built me these fantastic shelves. They're, 8 feet tall, 9 feet
Yeah, something
tall,
like that.
and 4 feet wide and 2 feet deep, where we could stack bolts of fabric up, and each one of these cabinets can hold around 1,000 yards of fabric alone. I have 2 of them. So we did not run out of fabric. And I was lucky enough that one of my main wholesalers up in LA, I was able to go up and grab, what did I bring back the first time?
The elastic?
No, the fabric.
Oh,
Do you remember how many bolts I brought back
the
the
entire
first time?
back of your pilot was
We
full.
filled up my pilot with bolts of fabric.
Yeah.
You don't remember how many bolts?
It was at least like 40 bolts, 50? I don't know.
Keep going.
I have no clue.
So a bolt of fabric is typically 15 to 16 yards-ish, give or take. I brought back 164 bolts the
Really?
first time that I filled up my car. The second time I filled up my car, it was 124 bolts. We don't have any of that fabric here today. We used it all. Yeah. We used it all.
Well, we also distributed a lot of the fabric and the elastic that we were able to get to
We
the
did.
people that were making and donating the face masks
Yeah.
because they couldn't get a hold of it, but because of the connection she had in LA, she was able to get a few of the spools of elastic for
64.
a decent price so that it wasn't usury. And thankfully we were able to do that and then give it to the people that were actually going to use it and not people that were going to resell it for like.
This is why community is
whatever.
important, because I have a relationship with my wholesalers, the people that I've been using for the last 8 to 10 years, to where I went to pick up my big box of elastic, and he tells me, he goes, so it's been sitting over here by the door. He goes, I had a few people come by and ask me for it, and I knew I had already had that set aside for you. And I was like, that's cool, that's awesome. And he goes, no. You don't understand. I had one person come to the door and goes, I'll pay you anything you want for that box of elastic. And I got to take home all of my spools at the price that it was supposed to be because I had that relationship. You treat your wholesalers correctly. You treat your customers correctly. It's all about community. And that's the biggest thing with business that a lot of business owners tend to forget, especially when things get hard, especially when things get sticky.
Yeah.
164 bolts. And it's all gone. All of it.
You replaced it though.
That I
and
did.
then some. Yeah.
He thinks I have entirely too much fabric.
It's
I never tell him that he might be right.
continuously increasing.
But it's different.
It is all different, yes. It's very good. So now we started selling fabric too.
Well,
because we have so much, right?
at some point, somewhere in April, we figured out that, 3,000 face masks in 10 days wasn't feasible to continue doing. And I had to be able to keep up with something in some form to be able to
keep the business running and
to keep the business
pay the rent.
running, to pay the rent. Thank goodness we had the support on both ends to be able to continue rent. But also, it wasn't just about me making face masks. It was about making sure that my community had the materials, the proper materials, to help continue making face masks. So I have some pretty awesome students too, where I had one student in particular who came in and purchased at wholesale cost 100 yards of fabric to distribute to our face mask group specifically. So I was able to extend that because, again, with my wholesaler, I was able to go and pick these fabrics up, but there got to be a point where even he was getting upcharged, so he had to raise his prices, and it just trickles down to everybody. Our fabric is costing more than it was a year ago. Our elastic, our threads, everything, because so much has been brought to the attention about the need for sewing and the need for these arts. All of those supplies have jacked up. So, it's not your grandma's spool of thread anymore that used to cost $1. Now it costs $3. I remember paying $2 or $3 a yard for some fabrics. I remember when character fabrics were $4 or $5 a yard, and now they're $12, $13, $15 a yard, just from even Joann's. Walmart has some, typically will be anywhere between $6 and $12 a yard, but you see that in the time that's gone by, the events that affect all of us, how that changes how we buy things, where we buy things, and it just comes back to that community, making sure that you have the relationships that can sustain a business like ours in even the hardest times. I see Zach pondering at the screen. What's going on?
They said hopefully Mira Mesa location is popping up soon.
I'll give you a little hint. Our next location, we are looking at the Claremont Mesa area. So I won't particularly say that it is on Claremont Mesa Boulevard, but we're looking right about there. I'm in talks between 2 different locations. So once we have something completely nailed down, hopefully within the next week or 2, I'll have not only an address, but an opening date for us. But it is coming. I'm super, super excited to come down to San Diego too and get that all going. So
So you design clothes as well, right? With the Kylie's Closet?
I do. I have been, particularly myself, I've been sewing for over 20 years. I started with my own Halloween costumes. My mom does not sew. Well, she does now because she took a class with me last year. I got to teach my mom how to sew last year. But at this point, when I was about 11, my mom had a machine. Okay, she would do straight stitches. So think a pillowcase or, she'd fix drapes, that kind of thing. Very simple, straight lines, nothing complicated. And I'd see this machine, I'd be like, Mom, I want to learn how to do that. So she sat me down one day, she showed me, okay, this is your machine, this is what everything is on it, your thread goes here, needle's here, don't push that. Okay, have fun. And backed away and just let me go. And I just took off from there. My first big project sewing when I was 12 years old was a Renaissance noble's costume. And my mom and I decided we're going to go to the Renaissance fair and I'm going to make our costumes. So I made mine and hers in a week's time. This, I actually still have mine. It was this top with the overskirt and the
Like the corset stuff?
the corset and the underskirt and the shirts, and it had these big long bell detachable sleeves, and it was the coolest thing ever. And it was so funny because not last year but the year before, our daughter wore it to the Renaissance fair for the first time. And so she's walking in front of me in my costume that I made at her age, and it fit. And I was like, this is not okay. I'm not okay. But from there, it branched to Halloween costumes and to household items. And then, I put my machine away for a long time, three years-ish. And then when we moved in together, I, bring everything out of storage. And do you remember what was it you told me?
Only old people sew.
Because I'm bringing this machine out. Our daughter's 1 at this point, and he
You don't
goes,
sew.
what is that? I was like, it's my sewing machine. You have a sewing machine? Yeah. Don't only old people sew? I'm 22 at this point. Not an old person. Then anyway. I'm getting there. So bad. But yeah, so then I started making stuff around the house, and I made Kylie's pink curtains because we were in an apartment, so we weren't allowed to paint. So I thought, I'll make pink curtains. It'll turn the whole room pink. And it worked. And then I made her this robe, which she actually still has. She's about to be 13. So I made her this robe 12 years ago. And from that point, it was a neighbor friend of mine after we moved into an actual house. She saw me making all these dresses and stuff. She's like, oh, you should open an Etsy shop. Etsy, what's that? So October 29th, 2011, I opened an Etsy shop, had no clue what I was doing at that point. But it was a lot of fun, and it just grew from there. And like I said, that's how Sew Oside was born, was via Kylie's Closet and all of these crazy costumes and stuff that I've made. So at this point, it's been hard because all of our festivals have been shut down. So I only have the dresses here in the shop. I take custom orders and everything, but it's been such a shift being able to take all of my designing and combining patterns and everything and share that with the kids who obviously they're not making it to sell. It doesn't have to be professional, but they're growing. And to see their faces light up when they've completed something and put it on and it fits, they glow. It is fantastic. And I don't think if I hadn't done that first workshop and made that first step, I would have never fell in love with it the way that I do now. And now not only do I get to do it, but I have my instructors who are doing the same thing and bringing that same light in a different version and having different personalities and being able to speak to different personalities within the class. It's amazing. It is absolutely amazing. Spring dresses and Halloween costumes. Those are my forte. I do the big dresses. But
Very colorful, ornate. Not my style, but
This is where we mesh well. See, I see in rainbows, and I fly through the clouds, and Neil keeps my feet on the ground because everything is black and white.
I make sure she pays her rent and
That too.
files her taxes. Basically.
That one. That's a big one.
You know, those important things.
Yeah.
She doesn't think about.
I was like, what do you mean we have to pay taxes? Oh yeah, that's a business thing. That's what I have Toby for.
Uh-huh.
Oh, we've nicknamed Neil Toby in the shop because we and our daughter is obsessed with The Office, and so we've nicknamed Toby. Nobody likes Toby.
I'm the HR guy.
Oh yeah, tomorrow's payroll.
Yep.
Gotta file our taxes. Gotta do. You said W-2s, right?
Yep.
Gotta do all that fun stuff. That's all the stuff that I let Toby handle. I get to make pretty things. I get to shop for fabric. I get to design, but I have a threshold. My attention span is an hour. What'd you call? He called me a goldfish.
So it's Toby and then Michael Scott.
Yes.
Yeah, totally.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, yeah, everybody gets the point of reference.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, it's a lot of fun. It's a great dynamic. We have a lot of fun, even when Toby's here.
I get a lot of the, why do you have to ruin everything?
Why are you doing?
Nobody likes you, Toby. Go home. No, we do. We have a lot of fun though. It's a good balance.
Is your passion in the sewing part of it, the growing and taking over the world part of it? Is it in Neil or where a mixture of all of it, or?
As far as who's more passionate about growing, that would be me.
Okay.
That's absolutely me. He's like,
okay.
well, you have what you have. Isn't that good? No, I have to take over San Diego County. We have to expand. We have to see more people. Neil's not a people person.
Let's not see more people.
Well, not right now. Yeah. I bring him out of his shell every once in a while. He makes sure I pay my bills. Balance.
It's hard for her to focus on one thing though, because she likes all of it. She likes to grow the business. She likes that business aspect of it, but she loves to sew. She loves to design, but she loves to teach too. And there's only
So many different things.
24 hours in a day, and you've got to sleep a little bit of it. So, there's,
Nah.
5 hours maybe.
How much did I sleep between? So I just took my kids on a road trip from. We went from here to Missouri, stayed with my grandfather for a week, and then went to Disney World for a week, and then came back. How long? What did I say? The trip back total was 34 hours of driving, and I think I slept a total combined 6.
Maybe, yeah.
I think it was
From
6
Florida
hours from
back to
Florida to
California.
here. We stopped I drove from Florida to Katy, Texas, tried to sleep. We checked in at our hotel at 4:30 in the morning, and I set my alarm for 9:45 because the kids had to be on Zoom for school, and I was awake at 8 o'clock. It's like, why am I awake? This is ridiculous. I need to sleep. Nope, my body's ready to go. Okay, let's go. And so we kept driving, so I got 4 hours of sleep. And then we kept driving. I drove for another 18 hours. I was like, I should probably nap at least. Tried to pull over, tried to sleep. I got maybe 2 hours, and my body's just like, nope, let's keep going. We're going to make it home today. We left Florida at 2:30, 3 o'clock Monday afternoon. We got home at 10 o'clock Wednesday morning. Straight through. Might as well.
Highly illegal.
I would not make a very good truck driver.
No.
I would have so many violations. What are you supposed to drive? Like 8 hours?
I think 12 hours is the most.
12 hours is the most? Oh, I'd have violations all over the place. Yeah. It's crazy. What else we got?
Any questions? Any questions?
Any questions? Any questions for us?
I mean, you probably already spoke about this, but you
Yeah.
said you started sewing when you were very young.
Yeah.
All right. What kept you on it? What kept you on it? Obviously, because I mean, I'm sure
You
know
know,
at some point you're
So
want to quit.
I totally get that. As a teenager, the biggest parts of me sewing was figuring out my Halloween costumes. That's what I was about, was my Halloween costumes.
There it is.
I remember The stupidest, simplest costume I did was Tinkerbell. But the most fun part about it wasn't actually sewing. It was putting together all of the accessories. I made the wings. I made the little hair poof and the little poofies that go on your feet. And literally the dress, I ended up finding some dress at a Goodwill store that needed to be taken in and cut the little triangles out of the bottom. That's as much sewing as that year involved. And it was one of my favorite costumes. So it's not even about, oh, well, you have to make this entire thing from scratch. You have to create everything. Watch, go grab the picture up there.
The one of Kylie.
Yeah. It's not even that it has to be all of this crazy stuff. It was just the fact that I had a hand in it. And so being that everything was different, I never got bored of it. And then in between those Halloween projects, you had little things like I worked on my backpack. So this is one of the hardest things because remember I talked about my attention span? This dress took me 6 hours to make because I had to make the skirt twice. Because the first time I made it, I followed the pattern and I probably should have trusted my own judgment because I knew it was going to be too short and it ended up being about 6 inches too short. So I had to redo the entire thing, the entire bottom. It's all one piece. This is our daughter, Kylie. And this was her dress for Comic-Con 2 years ago. And then she wore it again for Halloween, but I put lights in the entire thing. There's a video of it up on my Facebook page you'll have to go and check out, but lit up the entire dress. She walked around the neighborhood trick-or-treating in a lit up ball gown. I kid you not, I didn't even have to leave the house. It's like, oh yeah, there she goes. That little ball of light. Yeah, that's mine. It was great. This was hard for me, not because the sewing part of it was hard, but because I have a really hard time paying attention past that hour point. And then even on top of that, it's even harder because I won't, and this is just part of my thing, I guess, I won't start a project until I know that I have time to finish a project because I won't set it down and come back to it. If I set it down, you can bet you I won't touch it for another year. It's that bad. I made this dress the morning that we took these pictures.
Wow.
So you work better
My
under pressure.
photographer's probably going to ring me for that one, but I made this dress the morning that we were meeting in the afternoon to take pictures.
She's a world-class procrastinator.
I am a professional procrastinator.
But she's great under pressure, so it kind of works out.
It forces me to make a decision.
Yeah.
That's because my brain is all over the place, but it actually forces me to make a decision. It's a great, it goes hand in hand.
She should get a Dundee Award.
Dundee Award, yes.
Exactly.
We should do that this year. We should have
The
Dundee
biggest
Awards.
procrastinator.
Well, even for the students. We should do Dundee Awards for the students.
They're not gonna get it.
They'll get it. We talk about it enough. They'll get it.
The Busy Beaver Award.
You know, right.
That's what Neil would get.
That's when you. Never mind. I'm not going to say that out loud.
Was it a "that's what she said" joke that you were
It
thinking
was
of?
not. It was a Toby joke.
Okay.
No, what was I going to say? I was going to say, because he's called me a goldfish. So our official mascot, I actually have a goldfish at the house now. Took him home over break so that he wouldn't die. Because, if nobody's here to feed my goldfish. So I actually got the goldfish because he called me a goldfish. Because when we first moved into this spot, we had almost 1,700 square feet in here. And I went from 700 square feet to 1,700 square feet. And I remember coming in here thinking, oh my gosh, what are we going to do with all this space? And then I went shopping. Fabric everywhere. It's been super fun, but
She finds a way to grow to whatever size she's in,
so I'm
whatever size building she's in. So,
That's why they
including
make the
my house.
carts so big at Costco.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So between the growing to whatever I can and the attention span or lack thereof. See, this is why classes are great for me. Because I get to deal with 8 students at a time and my brain is constantly anyway. You can ask any of my students in class. It's amazing. They've told me it's amazing how I can ask a question and you know exactly what I'm talking about. And then they ask you a question and you're on their step too. And how do you keep track of everything? That's how my brain works. It's super catering to me because I'm all over the place anyway. So, you know, my students are my new enablers. And they send fabric here too. Alma, I'm calling you out.
Oh goodness, it's blowing up. I'm just
Yeah, right. Right. You got any more questions?
probably wrap it up. if
All
you guys
right.
wanna- I'll probably do a closing statement.
All right,
Yeah,
cool.
sounds good. Well, thank you for having us. We've been super glad to answer any questions. If you guys have any questions, you can leave them in the comments. I'll come back and read them, and I'll answer them as I can. Shoot on over to our Facebook page. We're on Facebook and Instagram. It's facebook.com or instagram.com/Sew Oside. It's SEWOSIDE. And you can also check out our website for custom projects, masks, and classes. And then watch out for that new location opening date. So I'll hand it back over to Zach, and he can close you guys out, and we'll see you later.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for everybody who is tuning in. Thank you, Neil and Amanda here at Sew Oside, for everything you guys do for our community here in Oceanside, San Diego, and beyond, apparently. And it's true. We were doing deliveries for them, and I remember coming in here, and Neil has bags under his eyes, and it's absolutely true. These guys work harder than most people on the planet.
I bought him his own sewing machine.
So super excited for you guys. Thank you for all the work that you guys are doing. Yes, if you are interested in this space, businesses and how everything works, learning different stories, how everybody's kind of found their road to success, you guys can always tune in because we have these events going once a month now, and we're going to be featuring another business for February, and it's going to be super exciting. So be sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you guys on the next one.